Okay, welcome to BlusTech Review's first stream. Today we're going to be going over bed leveling. I've been seeing lots of posts from lots of people on bed leveling, and most of them don't even know that's their problem. So, we're going to work on this today. I'm going to first give you some examples of what bad bed leveling will produce. This is one of them. I don't know if you can see that or not. You see the streaks in it and the gaps. Some of this was leveled correctly because I was leveling it as I was printing, which is what I suggest you do and not the paper method, because the paper method will produce prints that have lots and lots of streaks, generally. And an example of some good bed leveling would be this. It looks almost completely smooth. You can't even really tell that there are lines. That is the point of bed leveling. If your stuff does not look like this after it's leveled, there's a problem. And the end result will look very clean and very smooth. This is about a 10-layer piece, and that's the bottom of the first level. No lines, no gaps, no nothing. Let's see if we can find a bad bed leveling piece. I don't have a lot of bad leveling pieces because I take care of my printer. But here's one. Let's see. You can see the lines, the streaking. It still turned out alright. I had some minor warpage on this particular piece, but it's just poor adherence. So, anyhow, this is my setup right now. This is a ANET A2 Plus. It's been modified slightly, but for the most part it's in stock form. It has an upgraded Z-topper. It's got some frame braces down here, and of course it's got an E3D Light 6 hot end bought at BlusTech.com. They are a verified reseller of E3D. It's also got the cooling duct fan for the E3D, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it by way of modifications. Oh, there is a fan, which I don't know if you can see. It's kind of off in the back. That is on the power supply because I had some overheating issues in regards to the power supply. Other than that, it is in stock form. So, let's get started. So, I don't know particularly why the paper method produces such varied results for people. Some people seem to have great luck with it, while others have horrible luck with it. I think there's this margin of error with the paper method in which people think that they know what the paper being grabbed means, but it's very unclear and it's very vague for a lot of people. I myself have never gotten the paper method to work properly under slight grab or just barely touching. So I just do this. The following STL file will be uploaded to Thingiverse later on tonight, but I print this STL, which is actually this piece right here. I print that, and then I manually level the bed as it prints. So, I, in my haste tonight and my jam, did not preheat my printer. So we're gonna wait a minute while this goes on. I apologize for the poor video quality. I had some driver's issues tonight, which are not allowing me to use my normal camera. So we're stuck on a webcam on a laptop. Isn't that wonderful? Some settings for this STL. I am printing with Hatchbox Blue PLA. Um, all my PLA prints are pretty much at the same for blue. Hatchbox to any other, and that is heat is between 195 and 205. First layer is always done at 205 or higher. Um, bed level or bed heat is at 60 C, which I've found to give the best adherence. Some people go a little higher than that, which will work too. 60 is just a safe in between, especially on these cheaper 3D printers that don't come with MOSFETs built in, which I do have on the way, so I can start printing ABS, but they're shipping from China, so it'll probably still be another 3 weeks before they're here. Let's see, I think we're going to be printing at 60 millimeters a second, and I will actually be turning that up the more that we go on with the calibration of the bed, the faster I will end up turning it up on my firmware settings. God, she's going slow today, isn't she? Printed a few things. I've still got to install my cable chain. I can link this in Thingiverse as well, or link this in the description, the Thingiverse file for this. I haven't used it yet, but I have printed it, and it seems to work pretty well. I mean, it's cable chain. What can you do? I've printed a couple of test cubes. This one I actually printed because I was just screwing around trying to get the smallest layer height I could. This is as small as I went that day, and this is 0.075 layer height, and you really can't see the layers. You can, however, see the ripples that my printer produces right now because I need belt tensioners. But that is a project for another day. Some other stuff I printed. This is the best Delta Flyer from Star Trek Voyager that I have printed. This was done without splitting the model. A lot of people are in favor of splitting the models. I don't want to deal with glue. Pretty much stands up to that. I got great resolution out of this piece. I was actually really surprised. I ended up having to mesh fix this in a very expensive program. If you need meshes fixed to work with Simplify 3D, please contact me. I'll fix them free of charge. Turnaround time's about 3 to 5 minutes. Because Simplify 3D only accepts watertight solid meshes. This was not one because it was rendered for actual video creation. So there were certain parts that were going to print floating, so that had to be fixed. The first time I tried to print this through Cura, and I tried to print it flat, like this, and on supports, and the top turned out amazing, but the rest of it, the bottom was just a mess of string. It was absolute horrible. I switched it to Simplify 3D, and I printed it in a vertical orientation with supports, and it turned out great. I mean, I still have the rippling like I showed you earlier, but I mean, the detail is just phenomenal. Without that rippling, this would be easily a perfect model. I printed a couple dozen benchies. This is not one of the good ones, but my son seems to have run off with all of the other ones. Other than that, I guess we're still just waiting for this thing to heat up. It's almost there. We're at 174 by 60, so 180. So it should be starting in the next minute or so. I know there aren't many of you out there at the moment, which is fine. But if you do have any questions, please ask them. And even if you miss this stream, feel free to contact me anytime via the YouTube page, which will be linked on the Twitch, and the Twitch, which will be linked on the YouTube page. You can also find me at BlusTech Review at Twitter. On Twitter, looks like we're about to print, so we'll get back to it. Okay. So this is going to be really hard for you guys to see. I may move the laptop so you guys can see it better. You won't be able to see me, but you should be able to see it a bit better. So let's actually do that now and see if we can't get you some vision, as they say in the Dota 2 world. Okay, so right now, it printed the outer square. This side over here is really dark and the filament looks rounded. Whereas this corner right here is super light to the point where you can barely see it on the bed. So that means that this side of the bed is too low, this side of the bed is too high. Back here in the far right corner also looks like it is barely showing up on the board, and which means that it is too high again. And the bottom left, or the back left, looks like it is just probably pretty close to correct. My bed was not leveled before this video. I purposefully spun the wing nuts on the bottom so that it would not be leveled, so it would not print level, for your benefit. In fact, I'll do that a little more right now. I'll just screw these up a little bit and just really give myself a hard time by wobbling the bed. Alright, so now it should print like utter and complete crap. And you guys can't see it, but it is definitely printing like utter and complete crap now. We're going to turn up the speed so we can get you guys a little better view of what's going on. $199 seems like a good compromise. Okay, so as it's moving this way, as it's moving from left to right overall, obviously the printer is moving this or back and forth diagonally, but the face of your print is headed that way. So your major factor is going to be this corner right here and this corner right here. Because it's moving that way, your biggest factor will be this corner over here. Okay, so it looks like we do have some separation between each one of the lines, which means that the bed needs to be lowered over here. And standard, you should already know this, but lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, people. So we're just going to try lowering the bed over here. It's about 3/4 of a turn this try. and then you just watch it for a second and see if the lines start to join together. This particular bed leveling STL I designed specifically to work with multiple type of bottom and top fills. Right now it's on lines, obviously. I also like to print on concentric when I want really nice outer shell walls. And this will work to level with both. Okay, what do we got? Looks like it's pretty level over here, but it's a little too, the bed is a little too high. You can tell that, you guys can't tell that right now, but you will as soon as this print head moves out of the way. You can tell if if the bed is too high, because you will see it very, very clear. It'll almost look like it's clear. So we're going to have to tighten this just a smidge to get the bed to go down. And it's headed to the back left-hand corner. And we're getting some streaking, so we're going to lower the back left-hand corner. And try to do lowering slowly. You got plenty of time, don't be in a rush. No more than a quarter turn at a time is really necessary unless your bed is off a lot. The ideal is to get it so, like on this blue color, so that it's not a faded blue. Basically, you take it down all the way to the point where you don't see any gaps between the lines, and then you start lowering the bed little by little. And then as soon as you get it to gap again, you raise the bed by like a quarter turn. And this will give you the highest layer height you can do with still being level and having the proper height of the bed. Looks like the back needs to be raised a little bit. The back right. Oh yeah, it does. We got major streaking around the back. It's really hard to tell on this camera. Again, I apologize for the quality. I really hate driver's issues. Okay, so I adjusted that side, and now this side is off, and you're going to get that every time you do bed leveling. Every time you adjust one variable, it's going to slightly alter the rest of the bed. So now this side is printing way too low now that I've adjusted the other side, so we've got to tighten it and see what we get. Oh, and I am only using glass and hairspray. Do not listen to all the Aquanet fanboys out there. Any hairspray will do. I use Aussie because that's what my girlfriend had lying around. But literally any hairspray will do. Obviously the Mega Holds will do a little bit better, but honestly, we're not looking for the stickiness potential so much as the texture it creates on the glass. Okay, the back right is too low, so we need to tighten this guy down a bit. Or sorry, we need to loosen this guy a bit. Okay. And at any time, you can pause the print and get the head out of the way so you can see what's going on. Obviously, with my setup, it's a little hard to see what's going on because that fan duct takes up so much bloody room. We're pretty close to level on this corner. But this guy down here is causing us some issues, and the bed needs to be raised over here, which means we need to loosen probably 1/8 of a turn. So we'll see how that works out. And we're still a little bit high on this corner, so this one needs to be loosened as well. And we'll just give it a bump turn. And for all of you people out there that print on the just the metal surface on your printers, there's a reason that we are glass fanatics in the 3D printing world, and that is glass doesn't warp. Well, okay, glass doesn't warp easily, but your aluminum heating bed will warp severely. So this glass is meant to make your warped surface a flat one by strapping the glass to it. Which is why a lot of people that print with just regular beds go with auto leveling sensors, because they themselves cannot actually level their beds because they're warped so badly. Okay, so we are finding out that this is now way too low, so we need to tighten it. Alright, see, that's some of what'll happen to you if your bed is not leveled properly. You'll get this stringing like that. And it's stringing real bad on this corner. So we just want to keep on trying to level out this corner. And we're getting close. It's a little harder on mine because mine wobbles at the moment because I don't have the belt tensioners installed just yet. The seam, I may be having an extrusion problem at the moment, actually. Oh, nope, it's just printing in an opposite direction that I thought it was. My bad. But yeah, okay, so you're about to see a stringy mess. This is the key indicative point of non-leveled beds, right here. We're going to pause this and show it to you. So, it's a little hard to see, but this whole stringy mess over here is just ridiculous. I'm going to peel this up and show you just, yeah, see that? How it's coming apart like that? That is exactly why you need a level bed. This was the bottom left-hand corner. It is pretty close. It is pretty close to where it needs to be. It looks like it's still got some stringing, so it still needs to go, or the bed needs to come up just a smidgen. Whereas the back left corner got completely obliterated because it was too thin. This is a fine example of being too thin. Right here. You can almost see through it. And then this corner over here was just a joke, because we just get that. Now keep in mind, guys, this never takes this long. I have actually slowed down my speed for this significantly so I can try and walk you guys through it. This usually only takes me a minute or two. That was quite weird. So while we're waiting for that to auto home again, we'll see if anybody's actually watching. It's okay if you're not. I'm hosting it late because I had to wait until my son went to bed in order to do it. No real way around that. If you've got kids, you understand. Okay, so we're on our home again. Print from SD card. Go to bed level. Again, I'm sorry about the camera quality, guys. It's really horrible. The reason the stream started so late was actually that it makes it real difficult to get a good stream going when your camera drivers suddenly fail and will not reinitialize. But you deal with what you got. And what I got right now, other than my good cameras, which are not working, is a laptop HD webcam. So, let's see, what are some other common problems? Bed adherence seems to be a big one. Obviously, one of the best things you can do is go out and spend some money on getting BlusTech. Getting yourself some BlusTech. But other than that, you can do for the glass users out there, you can do the hairspray method, which I personally find to be the best method. And with that, you just take your sheet of glass, put it on a table or something, make sure it's cleaned off first, and then you just spray a light coat, one light coat this way, one way, and then another light coat the other way, across the entire thing. And then the key is you let it set. It's hairspray, so it should only take a minute or two to set up, and then you just throw it on your bed and heat like you would normally heat. The glue stick method also works. However, the difference between the glue stick method and the hairspray method is pretty significant in my opinion. This piece is printed with the hairspray method and looks almost glass smooth on the bottom as a reflection of using glass. There are no lines, no streaks, no residue. It smells like hairspray, but other than that, there's no residue involved. The problem with glue sticks in particular is that you get a filmy residue on the bottom of your print. Though I'm not saying that hairspray is the end-all be-all, because there have been some prints where I have literally spent over an hour trying to get off the bed because it stuck too good. Let's see, what else is there? I could talk about the painter's tape, but honestly, it is the single worst method out there, in my opinion, short of not using any bed adhesion. It does work. If you are going to use the painter's tape method, I strongly advise that when you use it, you wipe it down with isopropyl first. I believe it was isopropyl, which is rubbing alcohol. And that will start to release the adhesive through the top of the tape instead of just through the bottom, which obviously gives you better adhesion. But again, with tape, you have one of the same problems that you have with the glue stick, and that is with the tape, you will sometimes, maybe not often, but if you do use the rubbing alcohol on it, you will sometimes have tape end up on the back of your print, which will be a major pain in the butt to get rid of. Kids, don't smoke. It's horrible for you. You shouldn't do it. I shouldn't do it. I'm gonna die of cancer someday. But, you know, addictions. Don't smoke. But obviously, by far the best way to get layer adhesion is to, one, have your bed temps correct, have your hot end temps correct, and then obviously whatever your build platform is. BlusTech's probably the best. There are a couple other more expensive options than BlusTech, but I'm not really going to get into those because for the standard maker or for the people that I'm trying to appeal to, we're not going to shell out a quarter of the price of our printer for a build platform or a build adhesion for our build platform. So, let's see how we're doing here. Okay, so we're traveling towards the back left-hand corner, and it's looking really good. It is slightly high there, just ever so slight gaps in it. No. Don't worry about it. It is looking pretty good, but it is ever so slightly separated, so we're going to... lower the bed, or raise the bed, my bad. Raise the bed, which means loosen the screw. Sorry, the girlfriend was talking to me and trying to relay stuff. She should know better during a stream. But it happens, you know. I'm lucky enough to have been currently be in a 7-year relationship. So. This side also needs to be loosened a tad. For those of you who have printers that don't have wing nuts on the bottom, I feel sorry for you. You guys are probably the reason that Thingiverse is filled with little bed level spinners. But wing nuts work just fine. I don't have a problem with them. I did print some wing nut adapter things. I have not installed them yet because honestly I feel that the wing nuts are more than adequate. But a lot of people do like that upgrade. If you do have a Tarantula ANET A2 style printer like this one, I do highly suggest getting some sort of support like these guys down here to square your frame up a bit. Because when I received my A2 Plus, it was pretty flimsy, to be honest. It was pretty darn flimsy. Oh yes, that is looking pretty dang good. And the color is pretty uniform, which means we're doing our job correctly. We're just going to bump this guy down a smidge, because that's also something. When you're laying your first line of your print, and like say this square, it's supposed to be a square, but on this corner, it did a diagonal thing, because obviously the bed was too low. And that particular line did not adhere. And you know, for some prints that's not a big deal. Some prints you can just rip that line off and continue on, and you can just set the bed level at that time. We're going to get a little closer here, so maybe you guys can see this a little better. I know, I'm really sorry that I do not have the better camera working tonight. It's really annoying me, because normally you'd be able to see all these lines perfectly. I will upload some images to to the Twitter account of proper lines and non-proper lines, so you can get a better idea later tonight. And again, that's twitter.com/BlusTechReview. BLUS. No bloody E's. So we started this print approximately right here on the bottom fill, and it was pretty stringy, and you can see as it went that way we tuned out a lot of the stringiness, and it's pretty smooth. Like, you go over it with your fingernail should just barely catch some of the layers, or some of the lines. If you're catching lots of lines with your fingernail, that is a key that you need to still do a little bit of work. Oh, on the note of PLA and moisture absorption, I live in Florida, so it's pretty freaking humid here. And I can honestly say that my PLA has been out of the box for almost a month now, and it's still doing quality prints with no bubbles. So if humidity is a huge problem for you, I would not worry about it too much in the short term. I have not had any PLA long enough and not used it to determine whether or not extended will actually cause problems, as people have said. I'm sure it does, but I've yet to run into any of them, and I've had PLA out of the box for over a month with no issues. So the other key is that as you're printing, you can look down and you can actually see how high it's printing in regards to the other lines that you've already printed. This is super helpful in some scenarios. In my experience, there is such thing as having the Z height, or the overall level of the bed, too high, the level of the bed too high, or the Z height too low. It will get very, very thin and very, very clear, which will affect the overall height of whatever object you are trying to print. Especially when you're printing structural pieces like this E3D mount. I was printing way, way too close to the board when I printed that. Oh, on the topic of auto leveling. Auto leveling is a great thing, and for a lot of people it is the answer. uh, people with very warped boards, or people who don't use glass, or people who just don't want to hassle with manually leveling a bed. It's a great feature, but it does come with its own set of indicative problems. Um, One, your firmware has to support it. Two, you may get a not really unique, but semi-common problem where you will get certain layering. Uh, it'll look like steps up the side of your print. And I'm not talking about your standard print stepping, but something a little bit more extreme. And that is because the printer is trying to adjust on the fly where the bed is in relation to where the hot end is, and because of that it causes some print irregularities if your printer is not tuned perfectly, and that is your acceleration tuning, your jerk tuning, your temperature control, your PID tuning, all of that. If you use auto bed leveling to get really quality prints, you definitely need to make sure that the rest of your machine is dialed in before you jump into auto leveling. Well, that side's looking pretty darn good, I would have to say. Up until... No, it is looking pretty darn good still. Like I said, it's really hard to tell with this E3D fan crowd. I'm probably going to change to a different style. Not that this one's bad. This is the LP 5.5 ED3 mount, or E3D mount. The V6 mounts will work with the Light 6. I strongly advise against getting a clone, strictly speaking, because pretty much everyone I've talked to has said that they've had problems with leakage, either out the top of the heat break, or the heating block, or out of the seam between the nozzle and the heat break, or the heat block. Just lots and lots of it. And there are plenty of reasons for this. I'm not going to go into all of them, but the tolerances on the clones are a lot worse. You can spend $5 or $7 on a clone, but most of us are never going to print high materials or high temp stuff like polycarbonate or polycarbonate ABS. That's why in the short term I got an E3D Lite, because it'll do everything up to roughly 250 C, and it's got the same exact quality as the Lite, or as the V6, except for the Lite 6 with the Bowden adapter is only like $32 from Phyllis Truder. See, we're looking pretty good. It might be a little low. But overall, it passes the fingernail test in most of the spots. The reason that you only do light coats, and this is kind of crucial if you're using the hairspray method, the reason you only do light coats is because if you do thick coats, you're going to get glops places, which are going to make it practically impossible, if not completely impossible, to level your bed. Mine's sprayed on a little bit thick here, so even though I didn't touch the settings between this point and this point, it's a little wavy. The thickness is varied a little bit because the hairspray is too thick in that area. Now you're going to have the same problem with tape or glue or pretty much anything short of printing on a bare surface with no adhesion or build tack. You're pretty much always going to have that issue in some form or another. Let's see, this side looks like it is too high, just a smidge, not a lot. So we're going to lower it just a little bit, and that's turning it righty-tighty. But the key here is that when it's done, and you look at the back side of the print that is touching the glass right now, it should be smooth. It should be completely smooth, with no lines. I mean, with this, you should be able to run your fingernail over and not catch at all. Like this literally on the backside feels like glass. It feels that smooth, and that's how it needs to be to get proper bed adhesion. I will again say that this process does not actually take this long. This is severely toned down. I usually do this process in excess of 120 millimeters a second or higher. I also never use a piece this big. It is not needed. You do not have to go corner to corner to corner to corner completely to get your bed level. Okay, that is a myth. It's an outright myth. You can do a 20 by 20 square in the middle of your bed, dead center in the middle of your bed, like this one. And if it's level for that square on all 4 points, it's gonna be level throughout the rest of the bed. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise, because they're wrong. I'm doing this big for your guys' benefit. Honestly, if I go to level the bed, if I notice that there are problems, I'll just tune it a little bit here or there on the actual print that I'm printing at the time. I won't even bother doing this whole process. Oh yeah, that looks great. That looks great. And yep, just barely catching on the top, which means it's pretty darn close. Printing in lines is really nice because you can see that the line it's printing is facing and going towards the front right position, the right position closest to us, the red clasp. So you know that the corner that's going to have the most effect on bed leveling is going to be that corner, because the overall direction is there. Obviously, the other two important corners will be the far right and the close left, depending on which part it's going under. You can also print this same bed leveling technique as concentric fill, which will go around the outside and go around all the shapes in that shape. So like for circles, it'll go around the circles till it can't go anymore, and for squares, it'll go around in squares, which is why this has multiple different shapes inside of it. That way can be very helpful too if you're getting random height fluctuations in other areas. I really wish there were some more of you guys in chat, so, and by some more, I mean anybody. But that's okay. we're almost done here, so it's not really that big of a deal. But I would like to be answering some of your guys' questions. Um, I've had a lot of issues here and there, so I've had to do a lot of research to figure them out. Some of the best resources, I am obviously starting my own YouTube channel, but some of the best resources that I have found um, have been Tom on YouTube. I'll throw a link in this description for him, and Maker's Muse. Both of those two are probably the two biggest ones. Um, Probably the biggest names in 3D printing right now. Though I do have to give a shout out to the CR10 community and Preston at Press Reset. He just did an amazing review of the CR10. It's been like 2 months coming since he did the initial unboxing, and I remember hounding him like a week or 2 weeks after the unboxing, like asking him, when's the review gonna be done, man? When's the review gonna be done? And he's like, I'm not sure, it'll be a little while because this thing is huge. And yeah, that review blew me away. So congratulations, Preston. Also, for those of you in the ANET and Tarantula circles, or who are the other two circles I reached out for this video, the CR10, from the time of Preston's unboxing, there was not a CR10 Facebook group. There is now. There was shortly after that unboxing, and I believe it's up to like 2,000 or something users. I don't know. I'll look it up right now and we'll find out. And this was like over the course of 2 months, this printer has gone from nothing, like no users, no support, no community, to a huge community. Yeah, 2,215 members in that community in the course of 2 months, or less. It's just amazing. If you're looking to buy one of these, you know, you can always test your luck with the devil, as I like to call them, also known as GearBest. Not looking for a sponsorship from them. Thanks, guys. I'll pass. However, if you're stateside, if you're in the U.S., please go to tinymachines.com, I believe it is. He personally imports all of the CR10s that he can get his hands on. He takes them out of the box, he assembles them, makes sure they work, does quality assurance on them, and does a few hours of prints on them to make sure that everything's good. And then he ships them out to you. So, you don't have to worry about getting something broken and having to go through GearBest or having to go through some other drop shipper. He is an actual reseller, and he will work with you if you have a problem. He also does custom upgrades and the like, and that's Chris at Tiny Machines. You can find him on the Creality CR10 3D printer user group on Facebook. It's like I bumped my bed in the middle of the print. That's wonderful. But it's mostly done. It's just printing the final pieces in the middle of the square, which are really the clincher to know whether your bed is level or not. If you don't get these two center pieces on this clean, then you know your bed's not level. This is, I believe, this particular STL is about 5 levels thick, or 5 layers thick. So you can let it do the whole thing, but honestly, if you go past the first layer, you should just restart if you still need to tune after the first layer. like I said, this one was not a bad one per se. I was doing some minor tuning on it. Obviously, you can see the parts that were not great. Like that line over there is not great. Some of it, which you can see through, that means the bed was too low or too high, too close to the hot end. But there were other parts that were perfect, like down there, right there. It's beautiful. So, but yeah, that is pretty much it. So, brief overview. When you're doing this, you just make sure all the lines kind of smush a little bit together, and make sure you're not printing too horribly thin. And that's all there is to it. I know I've taken about an hour explaining this, and there was really no need to, but I just want to be as in-depth as possible for you guys so that you guys won't have to deal with these problems. The paper, if you guys want to, I can do this same print with the paper method and post a picture of each to compare them. This method compared to the paper method, end result. And you'll see a humongous difference between the two. But anyways, I think that's all for tonight. I wish more people would have shown up, but that's okay. Like I said, it's not a huge deal. I'm hosting this at a weird time. It's 10:30 currently, Eastern Standard Time, so I don't blame you. You all got jobs and kids and stuff, I'm sure. So, but if you found any of this video helpful, please like or subscribe down below. Follow me on Twitter if you like. I'm also in multiple groups. I'm in the ANET A2 3D printer group, the Tarantula group for TiVo, the CR10 group, and the ANET overall community group. So if you need anything, just give me a shout at any of those locations. I'm sure it won't be hard to find me. I'm active every day on the Facebook groups, and I'm always checking the YouTube. I will be having the complete review of this printer, unboxing and everything else up on video, hopefully within the week. And then we'll get some other stuff done as well. So, I hope you guys all have a good night, and as always, just because I said it was gonna be easy doesn't mean it's wise. Have a good night, guys.